Then Wildcat explains that one night he killed a drug dealer, and out of guilt for what he had done, he decided to give up his vigilante ways. So this makes Ollie mad at Laurel for sticking by the guy for despite being a murderer, and this makes Oliver a hypocrite because, as we all know, when Oliver first began as a vigilante, he used to kill a shit ton of people, and this guy only killed like one guy. But okay, sure, whatever. So speaking of convoluted, we get even more convoluted nonsense next as Felicity stops Roy from going out on the field because, quote, some of the forensic evidence didn't match up in Sarah's murder, and that Roy killing Sarah could have burned any leftover mirror crew out of his system. Yeah, because I'm sure that's how that would work. Of course, they don't explain what the forensic evidence not matching up, what that even fucking means. I'll tell you what it means. It doesn't mean shit. It's just that they wanted, forced drama because they want us to think that Roy could have actually killed Sarah, and just as Felicity thought earlier, and just as thought as the audience should have been thinking earlier, it's absolutely ridiculous that he would have killed Sarah. But hey, forced drama, false jeopardy. These are gonna be things that we see later on that these writers like to pull that pretty much insult the friggin' audience intelligence. Um, so Diggle, Ollie, Ted, they get in a fight with a dude that's wearing Ted's old vigilante gear. Um, SCPD shows up and they arrest Wildcat. So after that, everyone's back in the lair. Roy apologizes to Laurel about Sarah's murder. Laurel's upset with him and she leaves. Roy leaves, and then Diggle doesn't like the double standard of like Oliver just letting Roy go, and that he should face justice just like anyone else. So Lance Detective Lance, or I guess Captain Lance, is interrogating Wildcat. Laurel interrupts. Ted explains that he once had a sidekick named Isaac Stanzler. Uh, and the truth of what happened with the drug dealer was that Ted didn't kill him. It was Stanzler who did. And disgusted with what Stanzler had done, he told Stanzler to leave Starling City and never come back. And so Ted and Laurel, they get kidnapped by Stanzler. Oliver and Roy show up to save them. Um, Roy then faces off with Stanzler. Stanzler tells Roy he is being used by Ollie as a tool in his arsenal. And when Ollie doesn't need him anymore and he makes one big mistake, he'll be cast aside. So of course, the heroes win. They stop Stanzler. They save Laurel and Wildcat. And Roy and Ollie share this moment where Roy says, "Don't abandon me," he tells Oliver, and Ollie says, "Never." And I guess we're supposed to feel something there. That's supposed to be a really emotional moment, but of course it doesn't work because it's not earned. As I said in the Roy video, we did not see this relationship develop. They had, if anything, a sort of antagonistic relationship with each other in the first couple seasons. Now suddenly we're supposed to buy that they have this kind of brotherly bond just because they tell us they did. No, no, it's just rushed. Just like Roy's superhero training was rushed, so is his relationship with Oliver and his bond with Oliver. And these writers, they seem to have like, I don't know what it is with this season. Like the first couple seasons, they paid off things quickly, but it was done in a satisfactory way. They didn't drag things out unnecessarily, but they always paid things off quickly when they could. So it always felt like things were happening, and the show was always had this like forward momentum, and things paid off quickly when they could be, and that it felt like the show was always moving. But at the same time, they took the time when needed to develop stuff that needed time to develop. This season, they're just all over the fucking place. Like as far as developing like Roy and Laurel into their superhero roles, that shit is totally rushed. But then we get stuff like the murder of Sarah that's dragged out far longer than it should have to be, and you'll see why when we get to episode 9. Or things like where Laurel refuses to tell her father about Sarah's death, just being dragged and dragged out longer than it should have to be. I don't know what's with these writers. Their whole sense of timing is totally off. Their pacing is just so off this season. It's like it's not even written by the same people. So anyway, so Ollie tells Wildcat to stay away from Laurel, and Wildcat refuses, tells Ollie to cut Roy loose, because that's the big mistake that he made with Stanzler. And Ollie says that wasn't Wildcat's mistake. It was that his mistake was losing faith in him. So, yeah, well, big surprise. It's revealed that Roy was not the killer. Hell, hey. And, and a lot of people were convinced that Roy was the killer because like I said before, the whole from the killer's point of view, they had the shot from the killer's point of view. Roy knew exactly what Sarah said, so Roy would have had to have been the killer. Nope, because that was I don't know, that was just a weird choice of shots and things. It's obviously it was just done so it just seemed more credible that Roy was in fact the killer, and it was just a big fake out. And fuck these people for their fucking blatant fucking they're baiting you to fucking watch the next episode at the end of the previous episode. So Ollie he has Roy do some meditation bullshit that he just happened to learn in the fucking flashback from that episode, and it's revealed that the reason why he was thinking that he killed Sarah was because he killed this police officer last season, and Sarah was there watching him as he did it. So his mind, when he was fucked up on all these drugs, the Mirakuru and shit, he fucking like it somehow got mixed up, and he thought he killed Sarah. That's how it kind of manifested, which it's kind of pushing it for me. But all right, I buy it. I mean, it's close to being just bullshit forced drama, but whatever, fine. And I do like that they are bringing that up again, because something like that shouldn't be just swept under the rug. Like he did kill a dude. And I did find it weird they never really brought it up again, but it's good that they did bring it up here. So, Oliver, tells him, that it wasn't his fault or whatever, but Roy feels guilty anyway. And, Roy, this is where he gets his Arsenal nickname, we should call you Arsenal, Ollie says. Fuck you. And like I said in the Roy video, call him Red Arrow, don't call him fucking Arsenal. It doesn't make fucking sense. Sandsler says that that Roy's being used by Ollie as a tool in his arsenal. So then why call him Arsenal? Like I don't, it doesn't work. Um, so Laurel asks Wildcat to train her to become a vigilante. So at the end we have the new villain Cupid show up. She's this chick with archery skills, and she kills Isaac Stanzler. And I was thinking this was supposed to be a another red herring. So spoiler, just like the end of the last episode. No, Cupid, it didn't kill Sarah. But I was thinking that Cupid was supposed to be a, a potential suspect, but because she's an archer and she's killing people, and we find out in the next episode that she's been going around the city killing random people. I was thinking like kind of like Komodo that she was supposed to be another suspect, but it's weird because it's never acknowledged in the show. Like none of the characters bring up that she could have potentially killed Sarah. And another thing too, like when it's revealed in the show that to Roy and everyone definitively that no, Roy didn't kill Sarah. One of the things Felicity brings up is that it would have had to have been by someone who was actually using a bow and arrow. It could have been a dude throwing arrows like Roy thought. So I thought that would have been like hinting towards Cupid because Cupid's an archer, and they just explained this episode would definitely would have been an archer who did it. I don't know. So the next episode is episode 307. It's called Draw Back Your Bow, and as you might have guessed, the villain for the episode is Cupid. And Cupid, Carrie Catter, is an Andrew Kreisberg creation. Remember Andrew Kreisberg, the guy who took over the Green Arrow comic book and took a big shit over Jeff Lemire and everything he did on his run on Green Arrow, and then proceeded to go on the Arrow TV show and fucking shit on two of his characters. But of course, Andrew Kreisberg, his character, oh no, she gets her moment in the spotlight in the show, and she's actually done correctly, unlike the fucking the two Jeff Lemire characters. And what I think Mr. Lemire should do, I know he's busy doing other things now, he's not working on the Green Arrow comic book anymore, but I think Mr. Lemire should go back on the Green Arrow comic book, take fucking Cupid, and fucking kill her off and make her like a nobody, look like a nobody schmuck. Just have like fucking Amiko or fucking just fucking throw a fucking arrow through her head, and after Cupid only being there for like 2 panels and looking like a total punk ass bitch. That's how I think Mr. Lemire should thank Mr. Kreisberg for throwing him those bones earlier in the season by using Komodo and the new 52 count vertical and making them look like crap. Anyway, so this Cupid character is very goofy. I'd say she's a cross between a 90s Batman villain, like a Tim Burton Batman villain, and a 60s Batman villain, in that she has like this mental disorder. So just like the Batman villains in the Tim Burton movies, they essentially just have a mental disorder, and that's what makes them evil. Particularly the villains in Batman Returns. But at the same time, it's like a 60s Batman villain in that like it's very over the top, and it doesn't fit this grounded Mike Grell, Christopher Nolan type universe. And they wouldn't use this villain in the first season of the show. Hell no, they would not have used this villain in the first season of the show.